Hello, hello. Welcome back to Auntie Julie's Reading Room. Thank you for joining me once more. Remember to like, share, and subscribe if you appreciate this content. I hope you're enjoying your summer break, like me, to the movies, to the park, to the beach. All right, so today we're going to be talking about balanced literacy. Now, balanced literacy is not a new concept. The name may be different, depends on where you're from, whichever country. But the concept, I'm sure, if you have any experience in the classroom at all, you would have known the craft of maintaining a balanced literacy classroom. Now, balanced literacy is the canvas on which we draft our everyday teaching learning experience. And it's highly demanded in today's classroom, of course. But in order for us to hone in on those skills of maintaining a balanced literacy classroom, we first need to understand what literacy is. So that begs the question, what is literacy? Let's check it out. So what is literacy? I'm sure you can do your own research and you can find scholarly articles and books with theorists who can define and refine and redefine the concept of literacy. But today we're just going to look at it simply as the ability to read and write. To read and write. So then, we should understand that literacy has two overarching elements, which is reading and writing. Simple, right? Not quite. Because we also have to understand that under reading, it demands letter-sound relationship, syllabication, blending, segmenting, vocabulary, language comprehension, and ultimately reading comprehension, which is demonstrated through one's ability to infer information, to react to respond in various mediums, which could be speaking, but definitely writing. So this takes us to the other arm, which is writing. Now, writing within itself is not merely writing letters on pages. It takes in knowledge of using grammar, understanding of syntax, being able to respond to different stimuli. For example, you're told to read a text and then write in response to whatever task you're given. Right? So that put together gives us literacy. One being able to read, one being able to write. Read and write. Now in the classroom, these are probably looked at two different subject areas, whether it's integrated or taught separately. If one is addressed, this is reading, writing, then this is not balanced. Bring it up, and as much as we address reading, we address writing, then it's balanced literacy. All right? So based on that, we are going to look on the construct of a balanced literacy classroom through a particular framework. Let's get it. Balanced literacy within an English language arts structure is just balancing explicit language instruction by allowing independent learning and language exploration within a framework that gives equal attention to reading and writing. And the framework itself, from a clockwise position, begins with read aloud, then moves into shared reading, then word study, then we go to a reading workshop, and then a writing workshop. Now, each of these elements within the framework demands certain things that must be covered if the teacher wants to practice maintaining the balanced literacy classroom. So let's look at it. Starting with the read aloud, now the teacher models how a proficient reader navigates a text through think aloud. Reading, Johnny went under the fence. I wonder why Johnny went under the fence. Is it because he was afraid to walk through the gate? That kind of a thing. It encourages accountable talk. This is where conversation comes in. The teacher will ask, what are you thinking? What do you think is happening? What do you think is going to happen next? That kind of a thing, right? So that's accountable talk where students give their account of what's happening, as well as a way for you to ensure that they're listening. It also encourages the development of comprehension, fluency, and vocabulary. Then we move in the shared reading aspect of it. The students actively participate in shared reading with the teacher. So there's a text, the same copy of the text is given to the students, whether you have enough for them individually or in teams or, small groups, and they're shared reading. How I do it, the teacher may read paragraph, and then the rest of the class read one paragraph, and then for the third paragraph we read together. But all the way I am walking around and listening to them, to see where I can give them feedback and say, hey, stop right there. Let's go back. You didn't observe this punctuation mark, and so on and so forth. So, of course, the text must be on grade level. And we listen out for fluency, articulation, raising of the voice, lowering of the voice. If there's an exclamation mark, then we know it's a shout and something, things like those. But it helps to develop skills like comprehension, fluency, phonological awareness, and phonics, and develop vocabulary. Now, this takes us to the other aspect, which is word study. This is where the teacher addresses any phonological awareness gaps that she noticed in her class. Now here we have an extended list. The teacher teaches phonological and phonemic awareness. The teacher teaches letter sound recognition. The teacher teaches spelling patterns. The teacher teaches high frequency words. Teacher teaches word meaning and structure. Word solving action. The teacher teaches grammar. But not necessarily all of these need to be addressed. It's just what your students need at the time. And of course, we develop fluency, phonological awareness, phonics, and vocabulary development. What you should notice so far is that word study is embedded in each and every element. We haven't looked at them, all of them yet, but you will see that. But you should see that from now. You know what I mean. Then we move into our reading workshop. Let me make sure I look at my notes. So here we have the mini lesson. This is where the teacher introduces a concept, a reading concept. Okay, class, we have been learning about character traits. Right? What is character traits and all that good stuff? You talk about that. And today, while you read, I want you to look at specific characters and what traits you can come up with. Good? So you talk about that in your mini lesson. Then you have your independent or partner when they go out there and read. Of course, while they read, the teacher get a small group of readers that are not so independent and try to develop that skill. When they come back from their independent reading and so on, then we allow the opportunity to share. And of course, this develops comprehension, fluency, phonics, phonological awareness, and vocabulary development. Now, when it comes to the workshop aspect of it, that's reading workshop and writing workshop, you have to be very careful because it doesn't explicitly tells you at what point you address a standard relative to the reading. So and if you take this at face value and said, okay, I'm following the structure right here as it is in the ELA framework, then you may find later on that your students are not equipped to do the standards test, not are coming. All right, but later on I'm going to do a video as to show you how to work in each of these within the ELA framework. All right, so let's continue with the writing workshop. The same thing as in the reading workshop. You have your whatever concept that you're teaching in reading, and here, for example, it has where you introduce the concept. For example, you have the writing process. You want to introduce that. You have to talk about what the writing process is, the different steps in the writing process, and what is involved. Now, you can't teach all of that into one mini lesson, of course. You'd have to look at that probably within a week But that's the construct. Mini lesson, and then you have independent writing where students practice those skills, and then you allow them the opportunity to share whatever they read. And of course, it develops comprehension, phonological awareness, phonics, and vocabulary development. Now, even though we have gone through the different aspects of the ELA framework, I am aware, based on experience, that we still don't quite get what it looks like practically. So, in our next video, where I am going to show you how it worked for me, especially when it came to the reading workshop and the writing workshop. How did I work in the planning of the lessons to address those standards? Because as much as we have to read and write, the reading and the writing must be based on those standards, because at the end of the day they have SC ready that they must do well at. So we have to make sure that we cover everything to make them efficient. So that takes us to the end of our little session today. There you have it, balanced literacy in a nutshell. Please bear in mind how I explored balanced literacy is not necessarily how it is prescribed, but how I utilize it during my experience. So I do hope you're walking away with something useful, if it's even a little bit of clarity as to how it works or what it entails. But join me again next time, where we will include a little lesson that incorporates a different aspect of the English language arts framework taught within the construct of balanced literacy. Looking forward to seeing